This is the Transformers Generations Studio Series 86, figure number 01 from Transformers the movie, Deluxe Class Autobot Jazz. And this is the figure I was most excited for the very first wave of these 86 Studio Series figures. We desperately need an updated Jazz, and this is looking to be one masterpiece of a figure. See what I did there? Let's get him out of packaging. And here is Jazz out of packaging, and this figure is absolutely gorgeous. Hasbro did not disappoint. I love this figure. The robot mode looks absolutely amazing. It's as though they migrated the cartoon Jazz and just turned it directly into a toy. That's how good this figure is. The colors are great. The white, black, blue, and some of the clear bits here and there, silver highlights, all make up a wonderful rendition and approximation of how Jazz looked like in Generation 1, the cartoon. This is a Jazz that we have long been waiting for, and I'm so pleased with this figure. Looking at the whole general design and silhouette of this figure, it evokes so much of that G1 character. Back kibble is forgivable. He did have some kind of back kibble in the cartoon, but overall look, this is the G1 definitive Generation 1 Autobot Jazz. Have a closer look at that head sculpt. Oh my goodness, it is immaculate. I love how the torso comes about, and it is so proportional. And the black and the white plastic that they used, absolutely love it. I was worried that they give us more of that faded white colored plastic, but they didn't. And for some size comparisons, here is Jazz with a few figures from War for Chefatron trilogy line. We've got the Siege Ironhide, Earthrise Cliffjumper, and Optimus Prime. And you can clearly see how much this figure scales well with these other figures. And here he is with the Power of the Primes, Deluxe Class Jazz. You can see the obvious size discrepancy right there, but this was a Combiner Wars figure in all respects, and it did its job for the longest time, being the stand-in Generations Jazz after that Reveal the Shield Jazz, because that Reveal the Shield Jazz was okay, but it was just way too big to scale with the other more modern take on the G1 inspired Generations figures. Now, in terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint, nice and tight. He's got a swivel waist. The arms can go in and out, forward and backward. He's got that same joint as Blur, but on this Jazz figure, it doesn't seem or feel as awkward as the Blur joint. Bicep swivel, hinge elbow. Wrists can go in and out because of transformation. The hips can go in and out, forward and backward. Thigh swivel, very tight thigh swivel. I mean, this was tight. Hinge knee. And then some toe articulation because of transformation, and the ever-present ankle rockers. The blaster, so spot on. G1 Jazz blaster. A few hollow pieces here and there, but it is G1 Jazz blaster. Paint apps, hardly anything to complain about. The baby blue paint right here, some silver highlights here and there. Overall, just a majestic, brilliantly made Generations modern day Jazz adaptation. Transforming him can be a little bit of a chore. You have to be very careful in some pieces, but those difficult movements and steps in transformation are not enough to really want to make you hate this figure, unlike Blur. First thing you want to do, you want to flip these car bits right here, the fenders, the rear fenders and wheels. On my copy of the figure, the left leg, the car bit on the left leg seems to be a little bit detached. Unlike this one that really slides into place, this one just tends to be a little bit floating. I don't know why. Let me know if your copy of this figure has the same issue, but I'm going to be looking out for another Jazz figure just to see if this is an error or a factory issue. Fold down the feet this way. The instructions tell you to just fold these things up like that. Don't know why. Okay, and just like the Combiner Wars transformation, you fold up the knees this way, fold up the legs this way, and the instructions tell you to just tab them in right away. Now, immediately you will see that something might feel skewed or awry with this transformation, but that is how exactly the instructions tell you to do so. Let me know in the comments if you think there's a critical error in the assembly of my copy, because I feel it's not as flush, and that gap right there shouldn't be there. This particular gap right here. And I tried to put this on top of his crotch piece, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't fold in as flush, and the instructions don't say anything. That's just the way it is. Okay, fold up this back piece like this, and then what you want to do is don't fold it all the way out, the door panels. You need some clearance to fold the rear windshield up like that and assemble it, and then you can go ahead and fold out those door pieces. Okay, then what you want to do is you want to lift and untab the chest or torso piece just like that. This one, fold it down like this. Make sure there is enough clearance for the neck piece to swivel down the head just like that. And then what you want to do is you want to align that back part of the neck onto this piece right here and form the hood. Now for the arms, what you want to do is you want to fold the fists this way, fold them inward like that. The belt piece or the abdominal section, you want to rotate it 180 degrees just like that. Make sure it's nice and flush, and then that'll give you some allowance to fold in these arms. Oh, my bad. Rotate the arms this way so that these tabs are facing out. Do the same on the other side. Rotate and then fold like that. Make sure the head is nice and snug right there. Okay, then all that's left is really for this roof piece and windshield piece to just collapse and fold down. And this was annoying, a little bit annoying for me, like that. And the clearance is very tight in this section. And I appreciate the fact that Hasbro wanted no gaps and they wanted a very smooth hood. Props to them for that, but it was just a little too tight with the transformation. I wish they could have improved on the friction and the microns of clearance that had to overcome just to be able to fold down. Okay, and then tab in the back piece right there onto those leg tabs just like that, and that will solidify the rear end. And all that's left is really to tab the door pieces right so. Okay, and there you go. There is Generations Studio Series 86 Jazz in his car mode. Now, arguably, this is not the exact alt mode for a G1. G1, he was a Martini Porsche 936, and that car is a little bit wider, a little bit bigger on the fenders, and perhaps a little bit longer and more streamlined at the back. Having said that, I think it turned out great that Hasbro was not able to get a full-on license for the Porsche cars, because they've made an alt mode that is a little bit narrower, a little bit more snub, and kind of chibi looking compared to an actual Martini Porsche. And that's great, because in the cartoon, this is how Jazz looked like. He was a little bit compact, a little bit on the chibi side of things, and I think it's great. I think this is cartoon accurate. Despite not being accurate to a Martini Porsche, I think this is a very, very cartoon accurate alt mode. And for some size comparisons in alt mode, here is Jazz with Siege Sideswipe and Earthrise Smokescreen. And given the fact that these two are supercars, Porsche and a Lamborghini, the scale is, I think, so spot on with, let's say, a Datsun. This was supposed to be a Datsun, fair lady. I can totally see this scale working. I like it. I really like it. Hasbro is so spot on with the scale so far with their new modern G1 style Generations figures. And the weapon, if you wanted to, can be mounted like so. And so some final thoughts on this figure. You can clearly see him and Cliff Jumper in that scene in the opening of the Transformers the movie in 1986, running away from Unicron on Moon Base 1, depicted by the diorama that came with this figure. I think this is a marvelous figure. Absolutely brilliant. I want to give this figure an 11 out of 10. This is by far, so far, the best Studio Series 86 figure I've ever reviewed. And it's looking to be the best one in wave 1 of these 86 figures. I absolutely love the Studio Series Jazz. It is a welcome, modern take on Jazz that a lot of fans and collectors have been waiting for. Well done, Hasbro and Takara Tomy. Let me know in the comment section what you think of the Studio Series Jazz figure. Hit me up in the comments, and as always, hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. If it's your first time here, please subscribe, and if you want to help the channel out, please check out my Patreon account. There's a link in the description box below. Thanks for watching.